Welcome to the July 2007 edition of Outlook Video, your nationally recognized, award-winning show for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender communities. I'm Roberta Gonzalez-Gregg.
And I'm Tom Smith. What happens when you mix antiretroviral drugs, psychiatric drugs, and recreational drugs together? That's just one question addressed by the work of my guest, Dr. Larry McFlynn, director of the federally funded Stanford-Santa Clara Methamphetamine Task Force, with a mission to reduce methamphetamine usage and new HIV infections in Santa Clara County. Join me later to hear Dr. McFlynn share some of the surprising results of a recent study on the risks of crystal methamphetamine use.
That sounds very interesting. Last month, we took you to the movies at the San Francisco International LGBT Film Festival. For this month, the theme is musicals, an art form where humor, pathos, love, and anger, as well as other emotions, are conveyed through words, music, and dance. Raymond Donald Hong goes behind the scenes with Jay Kuo, composer and lyricist of Insignificant Others, a musical about a group of recent San Francisco transplants staging at the Zeum Theater in San Francisco's Yerba Buena Center from July 14th to August 26th.
As a lead-in to our coverage of California Gay Pride events in our next show, we are bringing you coverage from another Pride festival half a world away. John Angel and Kim Lawson bring you coverage of the 8th annual Phuket Pride Festival held March 29th through April 1st, 2007 in Patong Beach on Phuket Island in southern Thailand. Although smaller than San Francisco's celebration, it has some things you just don't see in our San Francisco parade. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss that.
Oh, Tom, what could that be? My mind is running wild.
Oh dear, here we go.
I thought everything was covered in San Francisco. I guess not. Well, nothing much happens in Coma, the graveyard capital of San Francisco Bay Area. So in a sleepy town where the dead outnumber the living, you'd think it would be the last place on earth to write a musical about. But director Richard Wong and writer H.P. Mendoza were able to create an original musical for the screen about three friends fresh out of high school but now in a state of limbo in Coma the Musical, now showing in theaters.
Stay tuned for Raymond's interview with Coma the Musical director Richard Wong and writer H.P. Mendoza.
With his eyes on the news, Aaron Bruno will bring us Homo Highlights, a look at some recent stories your local news station may have overlooked. But let's get started. Let's start the show with a Tom's interview with Dr. Larry McFlynn.
I'm Becky Newton from Ugly Betty, and you're watching Outlook Video, and this is my husband.
In April of last year, we met Dr. Larry McFlynn, who directs the Stanford-Santa Clara County Methamphetamine Task Force. The task force was awarded a $200,000 grant to produce a public awareness campaign to increase awareness of the risk of crystal methamphetamine use. Dr. McFlynn is here to share the results of his study, and some of the results are quite surprising. Dr. McFlynn, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So what have you discovered in the year since you've been here from this study?
We've interviewed a lot of people, men mainly with HIV, and explored their lives, how crystal has played a part in their lives, how the internet plays a part in their obtaining crystal and having sex with crystal meth. And the results have been pretty surprising, interesting how many people actually do use the internet for obtaining meth, for having sex with the meth. But I think the thing that surprised me the most was the numbers weren't as high as we thought. It actually turned out to be less than half the people were actually using the internet to get methamphetamine.
And you would have thought it was more?
More, definitely. They had their connections, they had their dealers, but they weren't going through the internet to get the...
So they're going online to get sexual partners, but not to get the meth itself.
Exactly, yes.
And then also what you told us last time I thought was pretty mind-blowing was that men who identified as straight or bisexual were having sex with other men because meth has a psychological component to it that lowers inhibitions, and that's where you thought the link was between meth use of men having sex with men and new HIV cases. Can you comment on that?
Yes. Well, I looked at the number of new cases that we had in our clinic starting from 2001 up through 2006, and we found about 33% of the men who came into our clinic newly infected were infected what it appears to be while they were using methamphetamine. For women, it was about 14%. But what was interesting within that 33% was that there was a significant number who were heterosexual, who claimed to be heterosexual. It didn't seem to be sort of the down low effect where they were closeted, but rather when they used methamphetamine, it was what they would call freaky sex.
They would feel this euphoria, have this freaky sex, go back to their partner, possibly female partner.
Female partner, possibly.
And then the effect would wear off, and they would not only have the issue of were they infected, did they do something they might not have done without the drug, but then also the idea of maybe identity issues and all of that. So that's a big load. So how do people get help with that?
In terms of dealing with the psychological effects,
right?
Coming to a clinic, coming to a psychiatrist, getting help, getting tested is very important. Getting checked for HIV, because if they were negative before and they've become infected, they may take it home to their partner, to their wife.
And how long do the effects of meth last?
When you do meth, if you do a certain amount of meth, it'll probably last in your system for 24 hours, which is much different than amphetamines, which is where they came from, which can be like 4 hours. So meth stays in your system a long time. The effects of meth after you stop using it, if you've used it chronically for many years, can go on 6 months to 2 years.
Wow. So that's what's probably not known very well in the community. My impression is there's some denial in the community, and a lot of people do it recreationally. Is there a way to do meth recreationally?
That's a good question. People think they can use it recreationally, but especially people with HIV, what they really need to know, the word on the street has been, if I do meth and I have HIV, it's actually going to help my immune system.
Yeah, I've heard that.
The opposite is the truth. HIV rather loves methamphetamine.
Sort of replicate more of the viral load.
Faster, yeah, significantly faster. It's going to hurt their immune system much more.
Wow. So, I guess just don't start is one issue, but if someone is on meth, how do they get off it, and how do they know when they're off it?
Well, probably for most people, the reason they get off it is because it's just not fun anymore. They may have psychosis, they may be profoundly depressed. Their family may say, you have to stop doing this, you're destroying your life. Or when they become infected with HIV, sometimes that's the point where they say, I can't do it anymore. So for them to get off it, people can do it. That's the message we're trying to get out. People do succeed in getting off meth.
And that's part of your public awareness campaign, to let people know that they can get off this drug.
It's not as hopeless as we thought before. So it does. Sometimes it takes medications to help them get off. Antidepressants. A study showed that Ritalin helped people get off meth. But most of the people are able to do it without using medications.
Great. Believe it or not, we're out of time.
Oh, okay. I wanted to remind you if we're still trying to get people to participate in our studies.
How would people participate in the study?
They can reach me through email or through our phone, the phone number which should be up on the screen. We're still looking for heterosexuals and, in general, men who have sex with men to participate.
Great. So if you check your screen, the information's there. Help yourself out. Do some other people some good.